think Kara puts it on the YouTube.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to admit the folks that are here a while. A couple in the waiting room, and I'm going to get rid of my waiting room. So people who arrive from here on out can just pop in. Yeah, that's all those who were in the waiting room.
Okay. I think we are just waiting for a couple people from our side. But if we want, because I think we have you going first, Joe, so we could start, if is that okay with you, Corbin?
Yeah, we can get rolling here.
Okay, so we're gonna call this meeting to order. So first up, we have our guest speaker, Joe Myers, who's from the Crime Victim Center. Joe's coming to speak to us about healthy relationships. I know Corbin sent out a little blurb to everyone about you and about what you would be discussing tonight, but I don't know if you want to share a little bit before you get into it.
Yeah, sure thing. Or Corbin, did you want, sorry, Leslie, was that me or Corbin?
Oh, that was you, sorry.
Yeah, it's all your floor is all yours, Joe. The people
Yep,
are tired of hearing me talk. I can assure you that.
Oh, I'm sure that's
I'm
not
going
true. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Corbin, for having me here tonight. I'm really grateful to be spending this time with y'all. My name is Joe Myers. I'm the Director of Prevention Education at the Crime Victim Center of Chester County. I'm going to get into all of that and what I do, where I come from, what our agency is all about. But before I get started, I want to recognize that we're on Zoom tonight, and that it's cool if y'all need to keep your cameras off and not have that going. Like, I'm coming to you from my home here in sunny Westchester. So I have to imagine that coming onto your Zoom screen, I may be in your homes or in your lives. So it's totally cool if you want to keep those cameras off. I will try to keep this really interactive. This workshop works really well when folks kind of contribute and jump in. So I will do my best to keep my eye on the chat. So if people want to share in the chat, then I will try to pay attention to that. If folks send me a private message in the chat, I'm pretty good at like making sure I don't read folks' names. And just whatever your Zoom name is probably what I will refer to you as if it is something public, but that's just a heads up for me before I jump into it. The workshop that I have prepared for y'all tonight is a workshop that me and my staff do with students starting in middle school all the way up through university and with adults. I've done this workshop probably more than any other thing I've done in the last decade that I've worked at CVC, and I have yet to find a space that it didn't work for. People of all ages really benefit from this. It's a really good conversation. So I'm hoping that y'all will get something out of it as well. Feel free to jump in, interrupt, or whatever makes y'all feel comfortable for interacting. So I am now going to share my screen because I do have a little PowerPoint for us. I'm going to get myself set up to be making sure I'm seeing everybody. Corbin, Leslie, can y'all see my screen okay?
Yes, yep. I can see your background.
Good, that's perfect. That's what I was hoping for. A little baby Yoda who is as hopeless as a Flyers fan as I am. That's what I want people to see. Cool. So get the presentation kicking. And here we go. So this workshop is one that I do for all over the place. We call it Respectful Relationships or Healthy Relationships. Throughout this conversation, we'll just have a quick chat about what are healthy qualities that we look for in different spaces. A little bit about where I come from. My organization is called the Crime Victim Center of Chester County Incorporated. We're Chester County's victim advocacy agency, serving victims of crimes, their families, anybody impacted by crime or violence here in Chester County. We're based out of Westchester. We started back in 1973 as an organization called the Rape Crisis Council of Chester County. This is where a bunch of activists in the community got together because they noticed that When someone was the victim of a sexual assault, they could report that to the police, but there were not a ton of supportive services for that survivor. So these activists became the first advocates for what we now call victims' rights. These folks got together to help folks make sure that these victims received support, that they remained informed about what was going on in their cases. They advocated for them to be taken care of, to have like more support and help along the healing road. It did not take long for these advocates to notice that it wasn't just victims of sexual violence, but victims of all crime and violence that needed support. So we expanded our purview to be all harm. So that's why we call ourselves the Crime Victim Center. We support anybody who has been hurt by another person or anybody who has been impacted by the harm of another person. So whether it's the direct victim, a family member, a friend, or a community that experiences violence, we try to provide that crisis response, that immediate support, and then also support along the way. Up on the screen there, you can see we have two 24-hour hotlines, which are incredibly useful. Our hotlines are completely anonymous and they are completely confidential for anyone over the age of 18. So they're confidential for anybody who remains anonymous and for anybody who calls us up to ask for support, to ask for help, or even just to get advice on how to help someone out. There's always a person on the other end of the line waiting to listen, waiting to help, and waiting to really just provide whatever support a person might need. Like I said before, I'm the Director of Prevention and Education. Me and my team travel all over Chester County, both virtually and in person, to work with communities like the O&J Roberts School District in building healthier and safer communities. We do that by just building on the good work that y'all are already doing, building on the healthy qualities, all the good stuff that your schools and your communities do, while also helping to address unhealthy or harmful qualities, which every community in our world has. So that's what I'm here doing tonight, is just doing a workshop that looks at that stuff. Does anybody have any questions about me, about Crime Victim Center, about anything else before I dive into this workshop? I'm going to take a sip of water and I'm going to allow some silent space for folks to join in with questions or if they want to jump in the chat. Very cool if folks don't have questions or folks don't want to join in. I'll give y'all a little warning about me. I am super comfortable with silence. Like before the pandemic, I used to love speaking to like middle school classrooms and having them stare at you because that's just their thing and just letting them sit in that for a little. And then when the pandemic hit, I could do it on Zoom. It's a rush. Cool. So yeah, like I said, throughout this conversation, please feel free to unmute and jump in. Please feel free to contribute in the chat. It does make it a little bit more enjoyable. To start the conversation, I do want to ask, what types of relationships do y'all experience? When we start talking about healthy relationships, what are some relationships that y'all have?
Like work relationships,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Supervisor employee, one.
Yeah. Professional relationships, like I'm sure you have relationships with all the teachers and administration and all the support staff, but then also relationships with families, relationships with students, right? Those are professional relationships.
Right.
Yeah. If you go ahead, Leslie.
Personal relationships, so like relationship with my own family.
Yeah.
Someone posted in chat, Joe, family, friends, and work. I'm not sure if you see the chat popping up or not.
Oh, it's perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Family, friends, and work. Somebody said spousal. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If you have a romantic partner, if you are wed and married, I think that's what spouse means, is married. I don't have one of those. I have a romantic partner, but not a spouse. But yeah, that's cool, right? Any other types of relationships that y'all can think of? I like doing this with kids because no matter what age they are, usually up through, I'll usually do like a trick question. I'll ask the room, I'll say, how many of y'all are in a relationship? And like half the room will raise their hands. And like in middle school, you'll usually be like 2 or 3 kids. And then you'll get like some kids going like, they're in a relationship, like ratting on their friend out who didn't raise their hand. And then I'll usually get to ask folks like, well, what's the matter with the rest of y'all? You don't got no friends or nothing? Because most people, when we think about relationships, Scott, I like that you said I have a rival relationship. Hopefully that's a positive rival, one that we build up on. That's cool. But yeah, like when we have a lot of different relationships in our lives, we want all of them to be positive in some type of way, right? Relationships are all about people coming together to do or be more than they could be on their own. So even like having a rival, that might be someone who pushes us to try harder, to try to overcome, or to, beat them in whatever it is that we're doing, one-on-one basketball, darts, hopscotch, whatever our hobby is that we're rivaling in. Having these relationships, we build relationships with every person we come in contact with. I have a relationship with the folks who work at the coffee shop behind my apartment. Because they, I give them a tip for giving me coffee. They give me coffee to keep me alive. And it's like mutually beneficial, right? We want all of these relationships to be healthy because whenever there's an unhealthy quality or an unhealthy chunk of that relationship, it can detract from other parts of our lives. Think about when we're in an argument with a family member or with a friend. That argument takes up brain space for us. We might think about what we want to say to them when we see them. We might think about an argument or like the last conversation we had. Maybe we rehearse things in our heads. Maybe we spend time talking to other people about this relationship. And it takes away from times that we could be flourishing, doing things we want to do or enjoy. That's the same thing that happens when relationships become unhealthy, is they take up space that could be beneficial elsewhere. What I want to do real quick with y'all, and again, what I do with young folks, is let's talk a little bit about a couple different types of relationships and just ask ourselves, what would we look for as far as qualities in that relationship go? I think this is useful for when I do it with young people. It's a way of reflecting on their lives to decide what they would look for as they build their social support structure. For you as adults, the parent side of this PTA and the teachers, it can help us look at how we want to model relationships for people. Young people learn so much, not just explicitly by what we tell them, but by what we show them. So the way that we act, the way we build relationships around them will help teach them what can be healthy ways of doing that. So that's kind of what I want to think about as we jump into this next step. To get started, I want to ask y'all, what do you all look for in a good friend? I've got another screen right here. I'm gonna whiteboard this bad boy, I think. Oh, yeah, I am.
Empathy.
Empathy. All right. What does empathy look like in a good friendship?
Someone just said good listener, and I think that's a really good answer.
Absolutely. Good listener. Why do we think a good listener would be important in a relationship? What do y'all think?
I think those are the people that you typically lean on when you're struggling with something, and oftentimes sometimes you don't need to hear back. You just need to get out. You need to purge. Mm-hmm. And that helps just to kind of get that out, not to weigh someone else down, but just to kind of get it out. And then hopefully, if you're open to it, engage in some listening afterwards and, advice or suggestions or whatever else.
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer just said in the chat, sometimes you don't feel heard and they can help you work through feelings. Yeah. And I think Corbin, you're right. Like both of those things, I'm not like breaking any news here, but the world is hard. So having a person who will listen to you so that you can kind of just get something off your chest or get something out of your brain. Sometimes we just have to say something to unload. Having somebody who can listen is huge, right? And being heard, sometimes people can validate those feelings. If you're like, I feel weird that this happened. I feel upset that this happened. And somebody just says, yeah, that was not cool. That shouldn't have happened. And that validation is huge. Scott in the chat said compatibility, like similar interests. Absolutely. Similar interests are huge because we all got to do something if we're going to hang out with each other, right? If we were completely different, why would we be friends? What would we have in common? What would we share? Those shared interests give us a foundation to build on and give us hobbies and activities to do so that relationship can grow. What else makes for a good friend?
Good sense of humor.
Yes, good sense of humor. Why is that so important?
Life is hard.
Life is hard. I like to ask hard questions to easy answers, right? Because everybody, like, when I talk to kids, like, I'll be like, why do you want a sense of humor? And they're like, duh, Joe, because we want to laugh. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. That's the right answer. Life is hard. It's not easy. And somebody who can make you laugh can lift that off your shoulders. Scott said people are family oriented and unselfish. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think you want somebody who is oriented towards what you want and what you want, right? Who's people oriented means they care about you as a person. Unselfish is huge because that means they're willing to share. It's not just about them. Y'all heard the term fair weather friend, friends who are only there during the good times. We want all weather friends who can ride the storms as well as the sunny days. If they're only there for the good times, it's difficult to say, like, what is the benefit of that friendship, right? It is, sometimes we do have people in our lives who are like that, right? But are they the people that we look for as ideal friends?
I think being reliable is something else to look for. If we make plans and be back out all the time, that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sticking to plans, or even like somebody says, hey, I can help you out, like they follow through on that. If somebody says I can pick you up from the airport, then you're not like stuck on the sidewalk there waiting, right? That reliability shows us that we can count on them, validates that feeling of investing, because now we know, like, if I do something for a person, I know that they're going to have my back again later. That's huge, Leslie. Anything else that y'all think is important? Okay. Good. It's a good warm up. I like that. I have two more relationships I like to talk to. Corbin and Leslie, I don't know how much time you actually asked me to fill tonight.
So I think we were thinking like half an hour, but if we go a little
Easy.
over, that's totally fine.
No, I can do this. Cool. So let's talk. That's a good list for friends. Let's talk about a relationship that maybe we don't always choose, right? Let's talk a little bit about families. Before we dive into families, I always like to take a beat just to recognize that, like, not every family is perfect. Every family has something that they can work on, that could improve. I just was with a bunch of my family, so I could do like a 10-minute bit on like frustrations and tiredness with my family. But when we think about ideal qualities, especially when working with youth, right? Youth sometimes have turbulent relationships with their families. I like to ask folks to think about if they were building family members from scratch, whether it's out of people they create, right? Like some of y'all have done by building families, or people you find, people we bring to us and call family. If we were creating the perfect family members, what qualities would they have?
I think supportive is like the first word that comes to mind.
Yeah. Why is that, Leslie?
Because they're kind of the people that you can break down with and share your darkest fears. And I think if they're there to support you and raise you up and get you through hard times, or help you reach to that next level, that's really important.
Yeah. Families can be a kind of like last line of defense for folks, right? If tomorrow my car burnt down and my house ran away, I know I could like go to my folks and they would have my back with that, right? I wouldn't starve because my parents would look out for me. Not everybody has that, but we want folks, if we're building a perfect family, to have that type of support. Scott in the chat said acceptance, protector, and he echoed the support, right? Acceptance is huge because families are often multi-generational. They're very different people, right? My dad is 40 years older than me. We experienced two very different worlds, even though we grew up in the same world. Each of us has our own, views and struggles, but we have to accept these people for who they are, right? They are who they are. And that's by mixing that with support, even if we don't get it, even if we don't understand who they are, then we can at least lift them up so that they can succeed. I think protector is really interesting too, because families are often there to have our backs. Like for children, we're protecting them from stuff in the world. We protect their feelings by not just children, but everybody, by always like trying to be soft and comfortable with them, not just like breaking the world down and letting them know like it's terrible out there, but instead building it up for them. Yeah, that's huge. What else do y'all think about family?
I would say, I don't know how to word this, but just being present, the ability to be present, fully present, I think is a struggle for a lot of families, mine included, especially in the advent of technology and every kid with a phone or iPad in front of them, or even all schoolwork being done on a Chromebook. There's a lot of distraction, and something that I feel like I'm always fighting with is trying to get family to be present for a moment or period of time.
Absolutely, right? Like looking at what does that quality time look like, right? What does that mean to spend that time together? I think about, I have an 11-year-old nephew who lives in Washington, DC. And throughout COVID, the way I communicated with him and got to talk with him was like on the phone, right? Like my sister like dropped him on FaceTime with me, and I was working and chatting while he was playing Super Smash Brothers before virtual learning started, right? So technology really connected us, and it helped me, still be a part of his life, even though we didn't live together. And then I saw him this weekend, and boy, was he on his phone the whole time. And was I like, hey, bud, you should put that away, right? So it's that duality, right? It's both, where it is hard, because you're right. Like I don't have children, but I definitely recognize the frustrations or the struggles of like, there are so many distractions for kids, because like there's so many things on the internet. For us as adults, right? Like we are always like, there's so much stuff that happens in our world that we have to be connected to, right? I've taken work calls way late at night, or like checked my emails at times I shouldn't have, where it's just hard, right? It's not easy. And modeling and figuring out how to create that present environment to show people that we care about them, and vice versa. That's huge, Corbin. I think you're right.
And in the chats, someone put forgiveness.
Oh yeah,
in the chat.
That's huge, right? Families, the people closest to us, the people we are closest to, are the ones that we are most likely to cause harm to, and cause harm to us. Not because these people are bad, but because of just like access, right? All of us are going to slip. All of us are going to get comfortable or say something carelessly. So having a family that can forgive is massive, right? To say like, we recognize that we goofed. We recognize that we messed up, but we're going to be better in the future. Right? I can see someone also wrote fairness. Yeah, that's huge, right? Fairness is massive when it comes to families, because we want to make sure everybody is getting treated with what they need and what they deserve, and what's fair for them, right? I'm the third of four. I have three sisters who are like from many different generations, not many different generations, like 10, 12 years apart. And it's like, these are a lot of people who needed to be treated differently to get what they needed. as siblings, as family. So yeah, making sure that's treated well. And I see respect as well. Yeah, respect in a family is huge. Whether it's respecting a closed door, respecting a tough day, or just respecting that somebody wants to do something and supporting them through that. That's massive.
I think adaptability goes in there as well.
Yeah.
I think most of the time, a lot of people tend to parent the same way they were parented,
Mhm.
even though their children may be very different and are very different. They live in a different world
Mhm.
than the one that we grew up in under our parents. So sometimes when you try to parent the exact same way that your parents parented you, you're trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, and that doesn't always work. So you have to be adaptable and identify what are the struggles that today's
Mhm.
students and children are dealing with as compared to, well, back in my day. I mean, I find myself thinking it, if not saying it,
Mhm.
back when I was your age, and
Mhm.
it doesn't match up, doesn't fly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge, Corbin. I wrote humility because I think that's huge for all members of families, right? Not just for parents. I think it's easy for us to, or easy for me, because I don't have kids, to be like, parents should do this. But like every member of a family needs that humility. Every person in a family has struggles, has different perspectives, right? And like, there were times where, I really frustrated my parents, and then my little sister would do something and immediately get yelled at, right? And it wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault she got yelled at, because I did it, and it wasn't fair. But having that humility as parents, as children, to recognize like some things are just out of our control, and that adaptability to be like, things change every day, and sometimes there's no playbook, right? There are thousands of books written about being a parent, right? And not one of them is the magic one, right? We haven't figured it out. So I think that adaptability is huge. And I see Scott in the chat, optimism helps. Optimistic family members as opposed to doom and gloom. Absolutely, right? Always kind of keeping an eye on the bright side, always trying to uplift and not just drag down. That's huge. We don't want, like, I know probably plenty of folks have folks in their lives who sometimes will rain on a parade. And that's okay every once in a while, but we really want folks who will build up and see the bright side of things. This is a fantastic list for family. This is a PTA. I guess that makes sense. That checks out. All right, one last relationship that I like to talk about with folks. This is generally a relationship that we choose. Some of us may be in one of these. Some of us may be recovering from one of these. Some of us may be hoping for one. It's Valentine's Day, so it's the perfect time. Valentine's Day last week. Let's talk about, what do we look for in a perfect romantic partner? This is another fun one to talk about with the youths.
Kindness.
What was that?
Kindness.
Kindness. Yes. Why is that so important?
May I state that it's obvious?
Yeah, you can, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely want someone who's going to treat you nice, right? Romantic relationships especially, should be built on kindness, right? Anybody who flirts by putting somebody down is not really flirting respectfully or carefully, right? It's never like, hey dummy, I like you, let's date. That's not a great start. You want the kindness, you want the care. That's perfect. You see Scott in the chat wrote forgiveness. Absolutely. Y'all have only known me for 30 minutes, but you can tell that I'm a lot. So my romantic partner is a very forgiving person, which I am eternally grateful for. What else makes for a good romantic relationship?
Shared sacrifice.
Shared sacrifice. Why is that so important?
Because you don't want one person to be carrying the load of the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, like, romantic relationships everybody should be putting in what they can and getting what they need. Sometimes people have different skills in the relationship. I'm a little bit taller than my romantic partner. So for me, I'm the person who reaches up higher to get stuff, right? She can't reach it. That's not her fault. So she is the person who does that. For her, she was a kickboxing instructor. So if there's going to be somebody's going to attack us, she's going to be the person who defends us, right? And that's just the way it is. She's tougher than me. There's no getting around it. So we can see those as maybe equal, right? That like one is just as useful as the other. So yeah, absolutely. Sharing those responsibilities, sharing the burdens and the practices of a relationship. I see again, similar interests, ability to be together and be okay with separate time. Ooh, those are huge, right? Similar interests because we want something to share, but also I like the concept of boundaries, right? We want to grow with someone, but not completely with them, right? We have to be both sharing, but independent. Because that means we are growing together rather than like intertwining in a less than healthy way, growing together supportedly, right? That's huge.
I think confidence, someone that can be their own person, doesn't have to, define themselves based on someone else or because of someone else, but is, that in that independence piece is there and they're confident in who they are. And
yeah.
Is there times, I'm sure, when the spouse or your partner wants to distance and just needs some time away? Are you okay with that space and time away briefly, just to kind of let them gather themselves?
Yeah.
I would add tolerant as well.
Yeah.
Tolerant, because oftentimes when you've had a crap day and you come home, for some people, there's one person on the adult level that you can unload your feelings on, and hopefully they won't take it as an attack on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many days I've come home and just been like, I feel like blarg today. Like today is just like a rough day. And it's like having a partner who will sit there and listen, who will laugh through your stories, who will just like want to like be a part of that. And then it's mutual, right? Like we will go back and forth and have these conversations, and to have that kind of validated is huge. And that's, yeah, I mean, that's what makes for a lot of positive romantic relationships.
I think trustworthy is another one.
Right.
What's different with a family like a family relationship, you don't pick your family,
Right.
just get them, but you are picking your romantic partner, and that's the person you really, they see everything about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Romantic relationships can be very intimate, like emotionally, we talk to this person closely about stuff that maybe we wouldn't talk to other people about, but also physically. And some romantic relationships have a sexual component to them. We want those relationships, like those are our closest and carefulest places. We want to trust that person's going to be taking care of that with us, right? They care about us wholly, and that when we turn to them with something or give them something or invite them to be a part of something, they hold that care with trust, right? That they are always going to be treating us with how we want to be treated in that space. Yeah. I like working with kids because trustworthy and loyal are usually the first two that come up, and then I go, why do you want to, why is loyalty and trustworthy so important? And they go, because I don't want somebody who cheats. And I'm like, in middle school, I'm like, dang, what are y'all up to? Like, what's going on here? But I think it's really important to have people who agree to the boundaries of the relationship. Like a lot of relationships are monogamous, but we have famous examples in history of relationships not being monogamous, right? You could turn on the radio station right now, or the radio, and on any station, it's country, alternative, hip hop. There could be a song about somebody being not loyal or cheating in a relationship. So having the ability to communicate through ebbs and flows in the relationship and to talk about these boundaries can be really helpful to prevent pain. Like if someone is starting to feel less involved or less interested in a relationship, to be able to communicate about that, it's not an easy thing to do, but to talk about it before doing something harmful is massive and can save a lot of hard feelings.
Open communication, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. Communication is like the foundation of any and every healthy relationship, right? We can't we can't be something without talking about it. And I think practicing communication with our romantic partners is huge. Like being able to talk about what we want, what we don't want, how we're feeling, how we're not feeling, just like everything, right? How are we cooking dinner tonight, right? That communication is massive. It can stop us before we ever get to an argument or to a fight or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Out of respect for time, I am going to kind of jump to how I sort of wrap this up. When I do this with young people, we oftentimes look at the list and say, really appreciate how similar the lists are, right? There's probably some qualities on the list that we would copy and paste from like one to another. When I look at this, like good sense of humor, that's what I would look for in a romantic partner and my family. My family's cracking me up all the time. My romantic partner and I are always trying to make each other laugh. Scott, I see you wrote patience. I'm gonna add that because I agree. Like I said before, I'm a lot. My romantic partner has to have patience. But that's like, there's a lot of things that we might look for across all of our relationships, because we do look for very similar qualities across different people. These qualities may look different. Like, though I can say something that it would be respectful to a friend that my mother might think is disrespectful to her. So when we have these relationships, when we are seeking things, it's important for us to reflect upon these qualities, because when we're choosing them, be they friends, be they romantic partners, be they people that we want to like call family, then that's how we want to like seek those folks out, seek these qualities and make them clear. I tell folks, you want to make sure it's explicit, whether you tell people what you're looking for or you show them how to treat you, right? We model these behaviors, we show them what it looks like so that people can return them to us. One important thing for everybody to know, and that I try to teach young people constantly, is that everyone deserves each and every healthy quality that they want in a relationship. Each of you, each of your children, they deserve to be treated exactly how they want to be treated because they exist. They are worthy of these healthy qualities. They deserve them. And all of their relationships should reflect them back to them. If a relationship doesn't reflect it back, then we want to practice the skills to address that, whether it's communicating to get the qualities that we're seeking, or if it's the qualities of changing a relationship to make it different, whether it's a friend who becomes an acquaintance or family members who become distant, romantic partners who become ex-romantic partners. These are hard skills, but they're skills that help in building a safer world. Unhealthy and abusive relationships start off with healthy qualities, but then those qualities diminish. Sometimes when we're in the relationship, it's hard for us to see those qualities diminish and drop. So it's important for us as friends to pay attention and support other people in relationships, but also to reflect for ourselves, to take steps back and to think about where we are and what we're getting from relationships to make sure that we are getting what we need from them and putting in what we're supposed to. That's a brief look at that workshop that we oftentimes, actually, Corbin, I think we're coming out in a couple of weeks to do this with your students. So
You are indeed, yes.
So a little preview for everybody. I've taken up 10 extra minutes, so I apologize for that. And I'm very grateful that y'all welcomed me here tonight. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts about me or anything before I stop?
Just want to say thanks, Joe, for joining us tonight, and appreciate your time. We'd like to kind of present some little quick hitters to our families at our meetings, something kind of new that we're doing this year, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. This was great.
Thanks. I appreciate y'all too. I hope you have a wonderful meeting and a wonderful rest of your night, and take care, and let me know if y'all ever need anything.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
See everybody.
All right. Do you want to pull up the agenda? Do you want me to send it again? What's easy?
Let me see what I can do here. Give me a minute.
If not, it's okay.
All right, let me give this a shot here. How we looking?
Perfect. All right, I think it is you next.
Okay, I'll try to be brief. Not a whole lot to report on this time around. Book fair is underway. Started today. Thanks to Kara Burrell for organizing that for us as always, and to the folks who have already helped out working the book fair today. Typically, day one is one of the slower days, and then the kids realize, oh yeah, this is going on, and they see some things they like, and they start bringing in some money to purchase things. So we expect things to pick up as the week goes on. To that end, Thursday evening is our reading after dark activity for our students. Not exactly sure how many students have signed up. What was that? No, not exactly sure how many students have signed up for reading after dark, but it's always a good crowd, and have their treats and bring in their book lights and the blanket and pillows, and they have a good time, and they get the advantage of getting an early private shopping session in the book fair, which is nice as well. This Friday is our faculty versus student basketball game. Tickets are available on Ticket Spicket. It has been on my last couple weekly updates that I've sent home to families. I'll send probably a separate email tomorrow to students and families, again promoting that student versus faculty basketball game. It's at the high school. Always a good time. Students have a blast. I don't like the faculty's chances against the students this year. Overall record is very strong in favor of the faculty, but we lost last year, and it's not looking good for this year. Some pretty talented students on the team, but it's a blast, and all proceeds go to the Fight On McKenna Foundation and pediatric cancer in the name of McKenna Massey, a former student of ours who passed a few years back from leukemia. So looking forward to that, and to raising some funds for a good cause. Conferences are next week. I'm hoping that families are able to go in and sign up for conferences as with the people they would like them with, and at the times they would like. As a reminder, conferences, the default for conferences is virtual. However, if you would like an in-person conference, you are more than welcome to it. All you need to do is email that teacher and make them aware that you're coming in for an in-person rather than virtual. No problems with that at all. We're ready for both. But the default for conferences is virtual. I will send out next week, in the early part of next week, probably Monday, I'll send out the list of all the Google Meet links for the teachers. So if you have teacher X at 4 o'clock, you just click on the link for that teacher. Teacher Y at 4:15, you click on the link for that teacher, as with the past conferences. So that'll come out to all families Monday. Those are half-day schedules. Conference days for students are half days. They will see every class just for an abbreviated amount of time. Student dismissal, student day ends at 10:50 on those days. Lunch is not served on those days, and the student day ends at 10:50. The students go home on the bus. That's Wednesday and Thursday of next week. And finally, I think next month our guest speaker, Leslie, correct me if I'm wrong, is Paul San Francisco, our director of technology. And it's just as a little preview for our staff, he'll be coming into our professional development with staff tomorrow to talk about a program called Chat GPT. I'm not sure how many parents out there are aware of what Chat GPT is, but if you're not, it's something you might want to make yourself familiar with as artificial intelligence continues to kind of grow and bloom in education field. Chat GPT is something that many students have discovered that basically allows them to and play with it yourself sometime. Go in and just type Chat GPT into Google and go in and play around with it. But you can type in into Chat GPT, give me a 5-paragraph essay on abolitionists, and it will spit out in seconds a 5-paragraph essay on abolitionists. So this is like plagiarism on steroids, and a lot of students are familiar with it, and it is very hard to distinguish So we're PDing, we're in servicing our faculty tomorrow to make sure they have an idea of what it can do. But as artificial intelligence continues to grow, we can expect to see more of this type of thing. So check out ChatGPT if you have some time, and maybe even ask your kids if they know what it is. I bet they will. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. So just to reiterate, we do have the book fair going on. I believe Corbin, Mr. Stoltzfus had sent some information out, and Kara has been updating our Facebook page. If you'd like to load cash onto your e-wallet, that's a really great option if you don't want to send your student in with cash. So you can do that. Kara is retiring from that position is taking over book fair. So she is looking for volunteers to help out next year. If anyone is interested and has a student that's moving up to the 8th grade and wants to help out, please connect with her. She can pass all of her knowledge to you. If you saw, Mr. Stoltzfus sent an email out last week about our second youth activities night. This will be on March 15th. We're looking for any activities, athletics for summer and fall. And it can be year-round ones as well, like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. There is a form online to fill out to register for the event, and it is free to parents for elementary and middle school age kids. We are looking for people to help plan a cornhole tournament in May. So if you're interested in helping with this, please reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to have your help. And then I think next is Beth. I'm not sure if she's not able to unmute.
Oh, I didn't know it was me. Sorry, I just finished basketball. I apologize because I was coming out to the car. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to share, but we did have a pretty successful first pizza kit fundraiser. We were able to raise $345, which I think any little bit always helps. And it really didn't take a lot of effort on all of our parts. Thank you to those that were able to pick the pizza kits up for us and deliver them to the middle school. And then obviously all the families that came out and purchased. I know that there was a little hiccup with the pepperoni, but like anything else, we always have one of those, got to work out the kinks for next year. So hopefully this is something that we can do again next year, and it become a fun tradition for the middle school to continue with. So again, thank you. And yeah, that's all I got.
The pizza was delicious, by the way. I think we got 3 and we froze 2 of them and they were still like really good. Let's see. I think Casey, I'm not sure if you have anything to share.
I'm good, thanks.
And then Jen, not sure if you're able to unmute.
Yep, just the current PTA balance is $8,615.62. Day one of book fair sales was $352.59. So we're hoping sales will pick up towards the end of the week. PTA will get a portion of the sales. It's depending upon how many books are sold, depends upon our portion. And that's about it for treasury stuff.
Thank you. And then I know Noelle wasn't able to make it tonight. So we'll be able to move on with her stuff next month. On to committee reports. So for faculty appreciation, we had our January breakfast in the middle of January, and that was awesome. Thank you for all the food donations. They even had a little charcuterie cup from Bucktown Grazing. So it was really, the teachers and staff loved that. For February, we had our Valentine's Day gifts that our life skills students helped pass out. So thank you to everyone for the donations for that as well. I know the staff really appreciated it, and they all came with notes to kind of that had like a compliment for each of the different types of candy that were in there. So that was a really nice gift for our teachers. For March, we are hosting a Super Bowl for conferences. So if you haven't seen on the PTA website yet, there is a whole website page dedicated to this. There are different categories that you can enter in for chicken, for beef, for chili, whatever your soup expertise is. You can enter in, and there is a specific time for drop off and for pickup from your crock pot. We're looking for soup that's hot and ready to go. Our teachers will be able to vote on what they think is the best soup, and that person who wins the grand championship will get a trophy and a picture with Mr. Stoltzfus for all of the middle school to see who's got the best soup. We also have lottery tickets for our teachers for St. Patty's Day. And then in April, we're working on something new. We're looking to shower our teachers with snacks just to help them get through the rest of the year. May we'll have Teacher Appreciation Week, and then June, there's some fun things we'll be adding to the end of your picnic. We haven't planned any of this part yet, but if you'd like to join the Faculty Appreciation Committee, please let us know. We're going to meet again in March. And then Jen, I think, do you want to speak to the dance committee? I think we have a date now.
Yes, we do have a date. We have the April 28th. And we have the DJ set, and I've contacted a couple parents about decorations for it. I'm going to reach out to the art club to see if they want to get involved as well with the decorations. That'll kind of help pull it together.
Awesome. All right. I think that's all we have so far. Is there any questions from anyone?
I want to thank those in the community who took time to join us tonight. Continue to spread the word about the speakers that we have each month. Like I said, the next month will be should be a good one. Mr. Paul San Francisco is our director of technology, but speaks across the country on awareness and how to create a positive digital footprint, and what are the new apps that parents should be aware of that are of greatest concern for students. I know everyone's aware of the common ones like TikTok and Snapchat and things like that, but there's a lot out there that you probably don't know about, but your children who are on technology know about, and may even have them hidden on their phone somewhere. There's all kinds of ways to mask some of these apps that aren't exactly very positive for students to have their hands on. So Paul is an expert. We're fortunate to have him in our district, and he's going to impart some of his knowledge on our parents at our next meeting. So should be a good one. Please spread the word.
All right. We have a list of our future meetings coming up. So March 14th is the one that Mr. San Francisco will be speaking at. And if you have any questions or things that you want us to prompt him with ahead of time, please let us know. We're happy to relay everything. And then without any other questions, I think that's it for tonight.
All right. All right. Great seeing you all.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.